Good morning, everybody. My name is CH Vinay Bharadwaj. I am from Triple E, first year of Section A. Today, I am going to discuss about English PPT, and my topic is about types of listening. Before we enter into the topic, let's discuss a basic about what is listening. What is listening? Listening means paying attention not only to the story but how it is told, the use of language and voice, and how the other person uses his or her body. In other words, it means being aware of both verbal and non-verbal messages. The meaning of the above sentences is nothing but listening means it's about not only paying attention but also it is about how the people say in their own words, like how they use their language, how they tell us, how they use their voice, how the other persons use their body. Here, body in the sense nothing but their way of expressions. Some people, some people cannot express properly by their way of. Some people cannot say properly what they are. Those type of people use their body language by their expressions, by their looks. We can say those type of people. Those type of expressions, those type of looks are considered also a listening. It means being aware about verbal and also non-verbal. Here the meaning of verbal is, I mean, what is examples of verbal? What is verbal? Uses language, words, sentences, voice. These are called verbal. And non-verbal are, instead of using language, words, sentence, voice, they use their body language or their facial expressions, tone, and pauses in speech. Pauses in the sense using like that. These are called as pauses. These are known as non-verbal things. Which are non-verbal things? Body language, facial expressions, tone, and pauses in the speech are non-verbal. What is meant by verbal? A person who uses language, words, sentence, voice, etc. are called verbal. Okay, and there are five stages of listening process. They are: number 1 receiving, number 2 understanding, number 3 remembering, number 4 evaluating, and number 5 responding. If we look into the first picture on the above slide, we can see that first receiving, then next, after receiving there is understanding, then next remembering, then next evaluating, then next feedback. These all are five stages of listening process. Let's get a little bit discussion about these five stages. First one is receiving. Receiving is the intentional focus on hearing a speaker's message, which happens when we filter out other sources so that we can isolate the message and avoid the confusing mixture of incoming stimuli. At this stage, we are still on hearing the message. It's nothing but the meaning of the above sentences is receiving is an intentional focus of hearing a speaker message. If a person is saying something, or if a person is talking something, if the opposite person in the sense who were listening to the person who is saying, those persons are called as receiving, and this process is called receiving. The process which has taken place between the speaker and the listener is called receiving process. If a person says something, and if the opponent person, the who is listening to the speaker, This listening process is known as receiving. The words which the speaker is saying were taken to the opponent is known as receiving. Next, understanding. The listener determines the context and meaning of words he or she hears. Just now we have discussed about speaker, right? If a person speaks, if another person, I mean the opponent person who listens is known as listening. The person who speaks, the words which have taken by the other person, who heard by the other person is known as listening, receiving. Those receiving words who was understood, they are known as understanding. If a person understand what the speaker says in his own words or in his own method, those are called understanding. This process is called understanding process. And third one is remembering. In the listening process, the remembering stage occurs as the listener categories and retains the information she or he gathered from the speaker for further accesses. The result, memory, allows the person to record information about people, objects, and events for later recall. This happens both during and after the speaker delivery. Remembering. The meaning of above sentences is nothing but the listening process. If a just now we have discussed about receiving understanding, right? This is also the same thing. If a person says something, some people interlink with their daily way activities, such as something, if a teacher says a story about a excursion. I think if teacher says a story about excursion, I mean a picnic, some people think, oh, okay, right, it was already happened to me. They remember, they interlink each other. Okay, this was already happened to me, already it was happened to me, like that. These all called are remembering, regathering their information. Regathering their information. These regathering their information, recalling their information which was happened to them in the past, this center process is called remembering. Remembering something which was already happened to them in the past. That interlinking what the speaker says with their past life. Interlinking the information which was spoken by the speaker with their past. This process is called as remembering. And the fourth one is evaluating. We make judgments about what the other person is saying. We seek to access the truth of what is being said. It's nothing but we make judgments about what other person is saying. If a person is saying something, we make a judgment, right? For example, a if two persons are talking about something, the other person who is listening to the person, first person, he judges with the first person. For example, yeah, yes, it was already happened, no, it didn't happen. They judge whether it's true or false. You are saying true or you are saying false. In that way, this process is known as evaluating. And fifth one is responding. An active response that we understand what the other person has said, have paid attention to their words, and also read their non-verbal cues. Responding is nothing but if a person says something. Just now we have discussed these all examples, right? Let's consider them only. If a teacher asks any question to the students, what the students do, they respond to the teachers. By in which way? If teacher asks any question, they say yes or no. This saying yes or no is known as responding. I mean, what teacher says, replying to the teacher, it's nothing but replying, in the sense responding. That was happened. It's known as responding. Now if we enter into a topic, there were 7 types of listening skills. First one is informational listening, second one is discriminative listening, third one is bihazard listening, fourth one is sympathetic listening, fifth one is comprehensive listening, sixth one is empathetic or therapeutic listening, and last one is critical listening. First one, informational listening. The process of informational listening focuses on the ability of an individual to understand a speaker's message. It is a huge part of everyday's life, and failing to understand the concept of informational listening can be very much detrimental to one's quality of life and to their contribution to society. Much of the listening people engage in on a regular basis falls under the blanket of listening for information. In all areas of life, informational listening plays a huge role in human communication. For example, okay, let's discuss what is informational listening. What's the meaning of these above sentences? It's nothing but gathering a people or a persons who are gathering an information about a specific topic is known as informational listening. In simple way, a persons who were gathering information about a specific topic is known as informational listening. These people do these people what they do is they gather information as much as the possible regarding a specific topic. Let's see an example. First one, at school students listen to teachers for information that they are expected to understand for quizzes and tests. Exam meaning, see, generally, teachers explain to the students, or teachers give some quizzes, conduct some quizzes, tests, etc. and etc. What students do, the students ask teacher questions. Here, asking questions is nothing but gathering an information. Asking questions, asking important questions, important banks, schedules, uh, etc. and etc. This asking is nothing but gathering an information. This gathering information is known as these gathering information people were known as informational listening. Let's see the second example. In the office, people listen to their superiors for instructions about what they are to do. See, the officer, the head, uh, they say to their colleagues about to do this job, to do that job, like that, to do this work, to do that work. What do these colleagues do? They gather the information from the head and they try to do what the head told to them to do. This gathering the information is nothing but this gathering the information. These people are considered as informational listening. Let's go to the second type of listening. Second type is discriminative listening. Discriminative listening means only interpreting the sound of the message rather than understanding the meaning of the message. It is also known as fundamental type of listening. Therefore, people learn discriminative listening from mother's womb. Every initially has discriminative listening skills. You use this type of listening before you even know how to understand words. Instead of relying on words, discriminative listening uses tone of voice, verbal cues, and other changes in sound. For example, for instance, if you are meeting a person who is always peppy and full of energy, then suddenly their voice is very down or sad. Here you use your discriminative listening ability to understand that there is something wrong with the person. Let's discuss what's the meaning of the sentences. Generally, some people will be active, and those people suddenly get dismood or inactive. So they cannot reply to us that I am inactive, please leave me. So how can we know that they are inactive? Let's we understand them. Okay, he is not so good, so let us leave him for some time. So this type of understanding what we have thought just now, okay, he didn't say us, but we realized that he was inactive or he was in sad situation. This entire process was taken place. This process is known as discriminative listening. The person who understand their feelings in the sense his situation. A person who understand his situation, whether he is sad or he is active, he is happy, he is joyful, etc. and etc. By that, this process is known as discriminative process. I mean discriminative listening. Let's see the third type of listening. Third type is biased listening. What is meant by biased listening? Biased listening is also known as selective listening. Someone who uses biased listening will only listen for information that they specifically want to hear. This listening process can lead to a distortion of facts, that because of person listening isn't fully in tune with what the speaker wishes to communicate. Biased listening happens when the person hears only what they want to hear. Such blessed listening is often eventually in nature. Here, biased listening is nothing but the people do not. Biased listening is a selective listening. These people wanted to hear what they wanted to hear. If a person is saying something about anything, they don't. If they don't want to hear, they say no, I am not interested, like that. If they are interested to listen to that, only in that case they will listen to that, or else they won't listen to that. These type of persons are called biased, and this process of listening is called biased listening. Fourth one, sympathetic listening. Sympathetic listening is driven by emotion. Instead of focusing on the message spoken through words, the listener focuses on the feelings and emotions of the speaker. This is done to process these feelings and emotions by using sympathetic listening. You can provide the support the speaker needs. For example, let's say you run into a work colleague at a grocery store. They seem upset, so you decided to listen to what they have to say. You also use a sympathetic listening to feel how they are feeling. It's nothing but sympathetic listening in the sense a person who listens to the emotions of the other person. For example, if a person is in a sad, what the sympathetic listening do? He listens to the opponent one. Opponent in the sense the sad person who is uh, facing the present situation, who is in sad. The person listens to their sadness, and what they do, they feel that the same situation has happened to them at present. They are facing the same situation. They treat that they have also facing the same situation. Those type of persons are called sympathetic, and this process is known as sympathetic listening. Next one, how do you become a sympathetic listener? Just now we have discussed, right, sympathetic listening. Tips for sympathetic listening. Number one is be non-judgmental. Number two, give the person you have individual attention. We have to give attention to them. We have to respect their words, respect their feelings. We have to give attention to them. Number three, listen carefully to feelings and facts. Listen carefully to the feelings and facts. what the feelings, what they are feeling, what they are saying. Listen to them. Fourth one, show that you are listening carefully. You have to show that you are listening carefully at him. How? By listening carefully, they can understand. They can automatically understand that you are listening to him. Fifth, don't be afraid of silence. Don't be afraid of silence. Okay. Sixth one, restate and press. Perhaps. Seventh one, follow up. Okay, these tips can help you or help us to be a sympathetic listening. Fifth one, comprehensive listening. Comprehensive listening is the next level of critical listening skills that humans usually develop in early childhood. Comprehensive listening requires basic language skills and vocabulary to understand what is being communicated through a speaker words. Example, watching the news. Number 2, listening to a peer giving a presentation. Number 3, taking notes during a meeting. Here comprehension listening is nothing but next level of critical listening skills. These people the way of their thinking is different, quite different. While a teacher is for example, while teacher is dictating or explaining about some topic, generally all people listen to them. What these comprehensive listening persons do, they prepare their own notes. What teacher is said, what they understood, they prepare the notes. They use the words, they concentrate on the words which teacher said, vocabulary, grammar. These all comes under comprehensive listening. These type of persons are called comprehensive listening persons. Next one, sixth one, empathetic listening. Empathetic listening is useful to help you see from others people perspective. Using these types of listening, you can try to understand someone else point of view as they are speaking. You can also try to imagine yourself in the other person's shoes. It's just like sympathetic listening. Oh sorry, it's not sympathetic listening, it's like emotional listening. Example, maintaining eye contact. Second one, attending posture. Third one, touch. Fourth one, gestures. And fifth one, encouraging words. Sixth one, staying with conversational distance. Seventh one, responding with facial expressions. Generally, if we observe, if in our own words, empathetic listening is nothing but if a person is saying something, some people feel that they are wrong, but what the sympathetic listeners do, they try to understand that they are in the same situation. They will try to understand from their side also. They'll understand as well. They'll understand about them, and they'll try to understand about the opponent who is speaking. This process is known as sympathetic process. Critical listening. Critical listening is the process of understanding what is said and evaluating, judging, and forming an opinion on what you hear. The listener accesses and strengths and weaknesses of the content, agrees or disagrees with the information and analysis and synthesis material. Example, if there is an upcoming election and you need to decide who to vote, you probably use some from a critical listening. When you watch a televised debate, you listen and you evaluate. Critical listening. Just now we have discussed a little bit of them. These people evaluate, they judge, they form an opinion, they debate. For example, an voting system is taken place. These critical listeners, what they do is generally they grab the information whether the person is good or not. Can he take the all abilities? Can he do uh, all the developments? Can he be a good politician? They gather those information and they debate whether he is true or not. They ask each other, they debate, they form votes, they compare. These type of listeners is called critical listening. That's all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.